Now, going back to a lesson we actually looked at in Unit 3, and also to do with substitution, so I guess we looked at in Unit 1 as well, is being able to draw a graph given an equation and creating a table of values. So when we're given a table of values, like we can see here, all we do is we substitute in each number in for x and then find out what that actually gives us, and this would be our y coordinate. Remember, when we're substituting, we want to put in parentheses so we can try and avoid any mistakes, and then you can actually just enter them straight like this on your calculator. So if I go ahead and fill in what these would actually be, then we could actually go ahead and plot these points. Now, I don't know how many graph paper here, so I'm not going to do this quite as accurately as I should do, but it's going to look something like this. And ideally they should be a straight line. Whoops, which I didn't quite manage to do accurately there. Now it says pick 2 points from the table and then find the slope. So you can pick any 2 points you like. If I look with -2, -7, perhaps 1, -1. And if I use that formula from last time, so I'm going to label these as x1, y1, x2, y2. You do y2 minus y1, so -1 take away -7, divided by 1 take away -2, x2 minus x1. Then I should get, and you've got to be careful with all the negative signs here, 6 divided by 3, which is 2. Notice that 2 is relevant from our original question. And actually, the slope of the line, if it begins with y equals, this first number, or how many x's you have, is going to tell you what the slope of the line is. In fact, we have a very specific name for this. We actually call this slope-intercept form. The reason being is the first number, or relating to the x, is your slope, and then this second number is your intercept. Specifically your y-intercept, which means where does it cross the y-axis. And where it crosses the y-axis is here. Now to get to this point here, I wouldn't go across any at all. So in other words, it would be 0. But then I would go down 3. And notice this number from the table is related to that number there. So in today's lesson, we're really looking at this slope-intercept form. Now we know that if we look at a graph and we find out its slope, that could tell us what this part of the equation is. And also, if we look at the y-intercept, that can tell us the second part of the equation. So, for a question like this, if we're given a graph, what we need to do first of all is find out what is the slope. So find some points that lie on the line. So I could go here and here. Go up 2, across 1. So my slope is 2. So when I come to write my answer, I would put y equals 2, because that was my slope. But then we put an x next to it. And the second part is, what is the y-intercept? Where does this line cross the y-axis? Now my arrows are a little in the way here, so it passes through at 1. Now as it passes through +1, I'm going to put +1. So let's have a check to see if our answer is correct for this one. And you can indeed see that that is true. So for every question, these are the 2 steps you're going to look at. You're going to find what is the slope of the line. You're also going to find out what is the y-intercept. So if I do another one here, and actually, if I'm being honest, when I work out these questions, I actually do them in reverse. I do the y-intercept first because it's easy to see, just where does it cross this line here. So I know my end part of my answer is -2. Now I've got to work out the slope. I can pick any 2 points I like. I'm just going to pick these 2. So up 1, up 2, up 3, across 1. 3 divided by 1 is 3. So my equation is 3x minus 2. And once again, you can see that that looks like that's a good answer for this question. Let's go find some with negative slopes. So one like this one. So this one's going down. It goes through 1, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that in first. It's +1. And then when I come to work out my slope, I can see that it goes down 2 and then across 1. So to show it went down, I'm going to give it -2 and then across 1. And if I work out -2 divided by 1, I get -2. So that means my equation, therefore, is -2x plus 1. So as you can see, once you understand what you're actually trying to do for these, you can actually answer these questions fairly easy. Better look at a special case. So the horizontal lines and the vertical lines, this is where straight away you should be thinking, okay, this is a special case, I should be able to write the answer down to this straight away. Now some of you might remember the slope is 0 for this, but that's not actually particularly what the question is for this one. We're trying to find the equation, and this is one that we should try and learn straight away. Horizontal lines are going to be y equals, and then it's just going to be a number. So y equals 3 passes the y-axis through 3, so the equation is y equals 3. Now you've got to be careful with this one because the x-axis goes this direction as well, so you've got to be careful not to put x equals 3 for that question. Now, similar for the vertical line, special case again, you might remember the slope is undefined. We're not going to use our slope-intercept form for this one. We're just going to say it goes through 1 on the x-axis, so our equation is x equals 1. Similar to the other question, the y-axis goes this way, so a lot of people do make that mistake and say that it's y equals 1. So just be careful with that. Either remember you've got to switch them over, or just look which axis does it pass through and at what number, and then you can figure that out. Another way you can remember if you forget is write down some coordinates that lie on this line. So this coordinate here is 1, 3. This coordinate is 1, 1. And this coordinate is 1, negative 2. And then look what you notice. Well, this number is always 1. And which coordinate is that? Well, that's clearly your x coordinate. So you can write down x equals 1. Now, one very special one, and you might be struggling to see the line for this one. This one is slightly thicker here. This line here, well, it is a vertical line, so we just did one like that. It goes through 0 on the x-axis, so our equation should be x equals 0. So that one's a little difficult to see with it being right next to the axis. And that's how you're going to find the equation for everyone. Find out the slope, find out the intercept, start it with y equals and use that slope-intercept form. Or if you want to, you can use the method that I just used earlier. Just find the intercept first, and then find the slope, and then use those two parts to put your answer together.